Welcome everyone to this new episode of the Bitcoin Latam Report. Here today, I have the pleasure to have Lorena Ortiz, a friend, a Bitcoin ambassador in Mexico, the whole world, and she's also working at Fedi. We're going to be promoting an event here that we're going to do together at La Casa de Satoshi. But I also wanted to show to the world the great work that she has been doing all over these years. So welcome, Lorena, and thank you for participating in my podcast.
Thank you very much, Maciej, for this invitation. It's very good to be here at La Casa with this very nice set. And thank you very much for your kind words, too.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Lorena, she went on national TV. She had a Bitcoin bar here in Mexico City that was really famous. Unfortunately, it closed, but I'm sure it orange-pilled a ton of people. So for the people that don't know you, can you give a little background on what's your Bitcoin story? How did you started the Bitcoin Embassy Bar here in Mexico? And, what's the story?
Yeah, well, I met Bitcoin about 2017 because I was planning a trip to another country and I was wondering where could I save some money and make it grow a little bit. But then I met David Noriega, that is an OG Mexico, and he introduced me to Bitcoin, not as a financial kind of tool, but more like a kind of ideology thing. I was kind of like a little punk. I think I still a little punk.
A little bit, yeah.
I think, yeah. So I started studying Bitcoin with his help. He was an excellent tutor. He oriented me about what Bitcoin was, where could I find more information. He approached some books, some podcasts, some videos to me. And it's really saved me from a lot of different situations that a lot of people experience when they are entering to Bitcoin crypto things. After that, in 2018, we decided to open Bitcoin Embassy Bar in Mexico City to have a space where people could gather together and talk about Bitcoin and learn a little bit more about Bitcoin in general, and also to share the knowledge of people that would like to be in the space and meet the Mexican community. Also, this was a very useful place to create like a more strong Bitcoin community here in Mexico, because before Bitcoin Embassy Bar, there has always been Bitcoin community here, but this was very useful for people that wanted to find a place where they could always find somebody to talk about Bitcoin and to learn about this. So yeah, Bitcoin Embassy Bar was here in Mexico City for about 6 years, almost 6 years, and then I closed it. But in 2020, during the pandemic, I started creating content, sharing videos about the few things that I knew about Bitcoin back then, and that gave me some notice worldwide. So I started being invited to different conferences and summits all around the world, all around Latin America, and that's how people started to know who I was. And after that, 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, Fedi, that was still a startup, but was a very new startup, called me to tell me that they wanted my help and they wanted me to work with them because they were looking for somebody to help them to grow this adoption of Bitcoin and this tool, this amazing tool that is Fedi in Latin America, in the region. So I'm the community master of Latin America right now. And yeah, that's my journey in Bitcoin.
You know you're good at your job when they call you, you don't call them, right? So just to finish about the bar, because we knew each other there, and I spent a lot of satoshis in this bar, I must admit. It was a really nice bar, especially when you were going. You had like big chances of meeting other Bitcoiners that, as Bitcoiners are really fanatic people, always looking to meet other Bitcoiners when they're traveling. The first thing you will do is to kind of look for this kind of place. And I still see people on Twitter saying like, does the Bitcoin ambassador still exist? So it really impregnated the Mexican Bitcoin culture. Do you have any funny story that happened, something that you remember from this time? Maybe not the most controversial, but
Once I met a Canadian Polish guy in a meetup that then turned to be a very good friend. And we got a little bit drunk with tequila.
no, it's got it.
Mezcal. It was mezcal, and he totally, can I say bad words?
Yes.
Yes. He totally kicked my ass on that.
Polish blood.
Yeah, Polish blood versus Mexican blood. Mezcal, that's not a fair competition.
It was hard. It was not easy to say.
No, but we had a very good and prominent figures of Bitcoin in Bitcoin Embassy Bar. Samson Mao was there sometimes. Tom Bass also. Max Kaiser. Yeah, we had different, I won't say influencers, but more like prominent people in this space, in Bitcoin space. And also, I made very good friends in Bitcoin Embassy Bar. And that also allowed me to actually open myself some road here in Mexico and in Bitcoin and in all the world.
And obviously, you were accepting Bitcoin, you were accepted Lightning, but were people paying with Bitcoin too much, or what was the proportion, more or less?
Not everybody, because Bitcoiners sometimes don't want to spend their sats.
Yeah.
They prefer to spend fiat. But yeah, we started accepting Bitcoin on chain because it was 2018. So Lightning Network was a project that was just popping up from a little bit. And then when Lightning started, it was a little bit challenging to actually open the channels and manage the liquidity by yourself. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier. We used to use BTC Pay server, and now BTC Pay server is very, very easy to use with Lightning. We started using also BTC Pay server with Lightning, but it was a little bit bumpy back then. So it also gave me the chance to actually experience all these changes in Bitcoin and escalating solutions. Escalating or scaling?
Scaling. So
My second language.
it's the first time we speak in English, so
Yeah, the scaling solutions in Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, stories, I have hundreds. I bet that a lot of people that visited the bar have a lot of stories too. But I think that the best thing about Bitcoin Embassy Bar was the friends that we made
along the way.
along the way. Yeah,
Sounds cliche, but it's
it is true. Yeah.
so. Tell us a little bit more about your for the people that don't know what is Fedi. They approach you because you had a specific profile. You were really involved in the Bitcoin communities all over Latam. You had an educator profile, but first, what is Fedi?
Fedi is. I would like to start with Fedi mission. Because that opens the way to actually understand why it exists. Our slogan is empowering communities everywhere. So empowering is a very powerful word, because when you realize about all the people that actually needs this empowerment, then you realize that you could have a purpose actually helping them. So Obi, the founder and CEO of Fedi, had the chance to attend to a Freedom Forum conference, and he realizes more closely about all the necessities all around the world about freedom and privacy and access to financial systems. So he at the time also he met Eric Sirion, who is the creator of FediMint, that is an open source protocol, and it's the protocol that we use to create Fedi. And this protocol, FediMint, allows the community custody that actually approaches a little bit more Bitcoin usage and also helps to escalate their usage. Fedi then is a super tool, a super app that has a Bitcoin wallet, that has a chat that is private, and that has something else that is called mini apps, that actually Ario is part of these mini apps that help people to have easier access to Bitcoin and to use it in daily basis.
And that's maybe a small note, but you have obviously started being involved in the Bitcoin community for a really long time, by creating content, by creating a bar, by creating this whole movement here in Mexico. Like, if somebody will see you today and wanted to work in a company like Fedi, what would you say they should do in order to arrive at the dream of working at a Bitcoin company and doing something that you actually love and that you think is changing the world? Because I think that's what you feel. It's not just a job. You believe in what you do. Like, maybe just a side note on what will be your advice for a Mexican or somebody in Latin America listening to this.
It's very, very interesting that you're asking me that, because recently in Mexico City, there was an event, a conference that was called Mexico Blockchain Week. And in this conference, I met a very new content creator in Instagram that is educating about Bitcoin. He's just starting, just 3,000 followers. It's a good number. But he asked me this specific question: how did you get where you are now? And I started commenting that was the same that he was doing. That is a proof of work, and maybe also like a proof of love, because sometimes it takes a lot more to actually being very consistent, creating content, being very consistent, having a bar and attending the customers and dealing with all the problems that all this carries. You need to love what you're doing, like you mentioned. So if you really believe in Bitcoin, if you really believe in freedom, if you really believe in privacy, if you really believe in that empowerment that comes with this kind of freedom technologies, that's a very good point to start. And then you have to do some proof of work too, because this kind of jobs, this kind of positions in very good companies, and this kind of participation inside the communities and inside events and conferences don't come for free.
Mhm.
They come because you open yourself to share your knowledge. You open yourself to actually participate in all the community, to support different kind of actions. And sometimes they are not even paid, but you're doing this because you really, yeah, because you really believe in what you're doing, And I know that this might not be very appealing for some people, but I think there's like a phrase that says that if you enjoy what you work or what your job is, you're not really working, right? So when you are really enjoying and doing what you believe in, you don't feel it like a job. You feel it like a hobby, like just hanging around with friends, like helping to improve humanity. And yeah, I think that's the point to start, like to actually see if this is for you and if you really believe in this, and then start like being very active and participate in everything. And also something that applies for this, but for other things too, acknowledge your talents. When you start acknowledging your talents and you start developing your talents, because it was very hard for me to actually speak to a camera. Speak on board. Yeah, you don't know.
You don't believe you.
Trust me. It was, if you see my first interviews, it was awful. Terrible. If you were in the first conference that I gave, well, the first talk that I gave in Bitcoin Ambassador about wallets, it was terrible. So, but when you know that this is a way to actually collaborate with what you believe in, then you see, okay, maybe I should work on this talent that I might have, And then you might be very good at it. And then you might be ending working at Fedi. That is an amazing company that I really love. And you will end up meeting amazing people also like Maciej and Aura.
Well, I second that. We also, started years ago in Montreal. Before we moved to Mexico, we started getting involved in the Bitcoin Montreal meetup, which is like the longest running Bitcoin meetup in the world. I think it started in 2013. And we just said, hey, we want to help, and at that time, Francis Pulio was he still is like the founder of that meetup. And he said, I don't have time to organize meetups. You guys do it. I believe in you. I know you will not sell crypto scams. I know you can prepare good content. You can, prepare an event, and that's how it started. And now we have a company, so, but it took almost a decade, literally. So it's not something that will appear out of nowhere. But I feel that once you're in, like, then you're in. You're not gonna, go out of the space and cease to exist. Now everybody knows about your talent, about your skills, and you're gonna be involved in this space forever. But it takes a while before getting there. You really need to give value first before some of it comes back to you. But yeah, I agree with your advice.
And everybody has a different journey, because maybe you're a little bit shy, a little bit more shy than I was. Maybe you're a developer. Maybe you are somebody that can contribute with something else that is not content creation or community building. And that is good too. I mean, in Bitcoin space, we have a place for everybody. Every kind of profile can actually fit here. And that's a very amazing thing about Bitcoin.
Absolutely. So let's come back to Fedi.
Yeah, sure.
So Fedi called you. I imagine you probably said, yes, sure, I will do it. I'm ready. So what exactly is your role inside of Fedi? What's your mission, personal mission or, work mission inside of Fedi?
Well, I'm the community master of Latin America. As you know, we have like a very Star Wars kind of thing because we are the Fedi order and the country managers are knights. So my role basically is to have like strategies at the region that actually attends real necessities to provide these solutions to these necessities and to also to push and to create more adoption for Fedi and for Bitcoin in different countries in the region.
Great. So how many nights there is in the company? There is one for every big region and in the world? Or?
No, a master like me, it's just one per region. Okay. So I'm the master of Latin America. There's another master for Africa and there's another master for Asia. Right now we are searching maybe somebody for Europe too. But yeah, basically where we found more needs that needed to be attended was in the global south. That's why we started with Latin America, Africa, and Asia. So right now we're trying to see if Europe is also good to have, and maybe there will be a master there. And knights that are the country managers is the people that will help me to make this job. And we have just hired somebody in Brazil. We are searching right now somebody for Argentina, Mexico, and Colombia.
Oh, that's a lot of opportunities. Yeah, because Obi came and we actually did a podcast. I was really happy to do a podcast with him. He's an entrepreneur, a visionary that I respect a lot. And I think it's the episode that got the most downloads. Probably because you use it, like you force people to watch it or something. So I really appreciate that. But he was saying like now, Fedi, after passing many iterations, after working with the users to really adapt it to their needs. And now you're looking to expand. So that's why you're saying you're still looking for extra people, So maybe some people are listening that want to take on this opportunity or.
Yeah, you were mentioning about the jobs in Bitcoin, and here is an opportunity, guys. You can apply for these positions right now. We're also hiring in Asia and Africa too. So we need help all around the world just to spread the word about what Fedi is and create more adoption about Bitcoin.
Perfect. So I will put the link so people
Please,
play.
I need good people here that wants to empower others through freedom technologies.
So what would you say is the ideal profile for somebody to take on that role?
Okay, it has to be somebody that is not shy. This position requires somebody that is open to enter to new communities. It's a position that also requires strategic thinking about maybe this is a good thing to do, or maybe this is not a good thing to do, or maybe this is the way that we need to go, the journey that we need to start to achieve this, right? And also has to be somebody that can see the potential in other people, that can see, okay, this might be somebody that could collaborate with us, you know. And also needs to be somebody that has very deep grassroots, is very aware of the necessities of their country. Because if you live in a bubble that you have never seen like what the real necessities are inside your country, maybe you're not a very good candidate. But if you have very strong grassroots, if you are involved with the community, if you are aware of the necessities that Bitcoin might solve, that Fedi might solve, then this role is exactly for you.
Perfect. And you as a master community manager of Latam, you probably you're probably talking with the one in Africa and the one in Asia. Do you notice big differences in terms of how Bitcoin is changing the lives of people here in Mexico and Latam in general compared to Africa, compared to Asia? Like, is there different needs, or is it mostly the same? Like, how do you feel? What are the big differences?
Well, I think a lot of people in Global South has the same necessities at some point. In Latin America, Africa, and South Asia, there's a lot of people that doesn't have access to basic things like water, basic things like electricity, or Wi-Fi internet connectivity. This is something that we share. It's not always the same in every country, and it's not always the same in every part of the country. In Mexico City, we have a lot of things that we just take for granted. But that's not the situation in all the region and in all the countries. But there are very specific things that are different in different parts. And that's why we are attending very different situations in each one. Like, for an example, in Africa, we have started a program that has been running for more than 1 year. That's called Satinet, that allows the access to cheaper internet access through
Starlink.
Starlink. Oh my God. The Starlink antennas. Yeah, it's just, we have just recorded another content in Spanish and I couldn't remember. Yes, Starlink antennas. And we allow the access for a cheaper price. In Asia, for example, in Indonesia, there's a situation where cryptocurrencies are totally banned. So they have created a loop system that allows people to actually use Bitcoin like points, and it's not illegal to pay in points. So that's another situation that allows also people to have access to a financial system that is not like the bank. And in Mexico and other parts of Latin America, I'm seeing that here in Mexico, I guess that you have noticed it, and in other parts of Latin America, we tend to use things to solve necessities that are not meant to be to solve this. Like, for an example, recently there has just been building different tools that allows retirement plans that you can use to plan your retirement by saving We have different systems that allows to create like a saving system in a community that called tandas. There are people that are using Fedi for this.
Oh, in Mexico.
In Mexico and in other parts of Latin America. There's a necessity also for accessing Bitcoin through peers. And like in Ecuador, they are creating like a peer-to-peer system that works by a trusted member of the community that will be the one that will be checking that everything runs right? And this is made independently than any other system. So yeah, we have different necessities in each country, in each region, but the thing that drives everything is the necessities that we have.
Right. Yeah, I feel, for example, Mexico definitely has not as much interest in Bitcoin in general, because compared, for example, to Argentina, where there's a lot of problem with the economy, there's a lot of inflation, even hyperinflation. There was some capital controls, but here in Mexico, the pesos is relatively strong. The economy is relatively good, at least in the big cities. There is a lot of wealth here. It's not like the economy is crashing. And the richer people here in Mexico already have like their investment in American bank accounts. They have real estate and everything. So people sometimes, I feel, they say, Latin America, Bitcoin adoption in Latin America, but they don't understand that in between the countries, there are already some big differences, but then inside of a country, there can be even more differences. Do you have something to share about that?
I have been working very, very closely to Motiv Peru. That is an NGO that uses Bitcoin to run their social programs. And they have many different programs, like educational ones that help children to get more about the school, about the learning. They make different programs also that allow people to get abilities and get tools to create entrepreneurship. Yeah, that's the word.
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yeah. And they also like have on other programs like making shoes for children, and they pay the local shoemaker to make these shoes in Bitcoin, right? So these people has attended these necessities like very far away from the central cities in Peru. Like for an example, the last trip that I made to Peru, I flew to Cusco, and then we drove for 3 hours to get in the really deep part of Cusco's mountains. And then we arrived to a very, very poor village. In this village, we started like a pilot project that was called Agents, that could provide like local access to Bitcoin exchange, like offering this like a kind of another service inside a store. And these stores were not like the ones that we have in Mexico City. These stores were very, very poor stores that sell like very, very few items, but that was their job, right? And that was what was bringing food to the table in their family. And when they get access to this kind of projects and this kind of programs, they really embrace them and they squeeze it to get more, and that was very amazing for me. That one of the best ones that performed in this pilot program was one of these ladies that was like very far away from the city, and she was really amazing in this. And the store that she was is very small and is very poor. So having the chance to actually see this kind of environment where Bitcoin is a necessity to actually empower people and have access to a financial system, that really opens your eyes. That Bitcoin is not just for the rich people that wants to have another
Their portfolio.
Yeah. No, this is a real tool that is helping others to actually have access to financial systems.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The business model of Fedi, because I think it's also important to explain what it is, because right now you're purely expansion mode. So what is the end goal of Fedi? Like how many users? Like what's the mission? When are you gonna say like mission complete? The Sith Lords have been defeated, right? By the Jedi Order. So what is that finality and how does Fedi get there?
Okay, our final goal with Fedi is not just having more users. It's to actually solve problems, real problems. Because right now we are still not at that point of being a very profitable kind of company, startup. But we are on that way. And how do we get there? We create these solutions for people. Like for an example, there are some people in some places that requires a lot of privacy to actually be more free, right? We have different situations in Latin America where the system or the country doesn't allow the person to actually have freedom, and that is a solution. There's people that have never had access to a savings account or really wants to expand their business to other places. For example, in Bolivia, actually this week we created some content about this community. In Bolivia, there's a person that you can find at Bitcoin Research on X. This person is going to the villages where the handcrafters are, and he's working with DHL, this very big shipment company, to provide access for them to send their
Packages.
Yeah, like all around the world. So that expands a lot their access to economy. And this is people that sometimes doesn't even speak Spanish. But if they have tools that actually can be used to get there, to actually expand economically, then that's the point, right? There are places where people cannot use money freely. They're constantly being observed. That's a solution too. There are places where communications between pairs will be will have surveillance, and that's another solution. So we are trying to build solutions that could actually solve these necessities, and that's our principal goal: to be a solution, not just another exciting tool that you can use to use Bitcoin in a very cool way. Is to create real things.
Amazing. Talking about real things, we have a great event coming called Tianguis de Bitcoin here at La Casa de Satoshi, the House of Freedom Tech in Mexico City, from which we're filming this podcast. So we teamed up with La Casa de Satoshi and Fedi to do the second edition of this Tianguis de Bitcoin. So please tell us, what is it about?
Okay, Tianguis is a very amazing cultural thing that we have in Mexico. If you have been to Mexico at some point, you might have the chance to go to a tianguis. That is basically a place on the street or somewhere else where people that sell stuff, sell products, sell different things, get together and create like a local market. Like what you see on the United States is called farmers markets, but cooler. A tianguis is even cooler here in Mexico because you can find like anything that you could like ever imagine. One of the biggest tianguis I think, in the world, is here in Mexico City, and it's called Tepito. That is a very, like, kilometers and kilometers of merchants selling a lot of things. And yeah, so the Tianguis is basically this kind of a community that is together to sell stuff, and people that attend is trying to buy things to also create more movement, more economic movement in, like, locally, because you are not buying from a very huge supermarket. You're buying from your neighbor. You're buying from somebody that could sell you even stuff cheaper than in a local supermarket.
Yeah, one of my favorite thing to do since I live in Mexico City is to go walk randomly in the city in a Saturday or a Sunday, and then you find a tianguis, and there's always puestitos restaurants that serve barbacoa, serve really great tacos. And usually these are like the best tacos. So, like, not in a restaurant, in the tianguis are usually the best tacos. So basically, at La Casa de Satoshi on the 23rd of May, we will be doing the second edition, and Fedi will be at the center of it. So it will be kind of an experiment, right? Because it's going to be the first time we're going to push this tool for the Casa de Satoshi community. What are going to be the actions taken in order to help merchants getting onboarded to Fedi, and how also we're going to help people to spend their Bitcoin with Fedi?
Okay, so we are going to provide some training sessions for the merchants to actually understand and learn a little bit more about Bitcoin. In La Casa de Satoshi community inside Fedi, there are listed different mini apps that will also allow access to different ways of using Bitcoin for these merchants. One of them is Aureo too. And we are going to support them that way. Also, providing them an LN URL, a printable LN URL that they could use. So the people that is buying, they could just scan and send the payment, and that's it. And we will also have a local table that is a peer-to-peer table for people to actually exchange their fiat for Bitcoin to be used inside this activity, because, as you know, Magic, paying with Bitcoin is mandatory in these tianguis. So we will also help doing that. And we will also provide a prize for the best seller and the best buyer of the events.
Yes, only one rule. If we see you transacting pesos, you're banned. We're going to ban you. And yes, the last time we had, I think, almost 20 merchants selling art, selling food, selling even water, because we really wanted people to spend at least for the water. And I think every merchant at least sold for, like, the minimum, because I asked more or less everyone. I think the minimum was around 3,000 pesos. But for example, the uncle of my fiancé, he sold tacos for like 8,000 pesos, so like
That's great.
for $400 in one day in Satoshis, everything. That's what we want. We want people exchanging Bitcoin, using it as money. So that's the goal. So we're really happy with La Casa to organize this with Fedi, and there's more news coming about that.
Yeah, and people actually was very active in this activity on January. That was the first edition that was made, because it was a Christmas bazaar.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, in December. And the products were very good also. And this time, and you haven't mentioned, but we are receiving even more people that is very interested in selling here. So I guess that the diversity of things that we will have will be even bigger this time. Hopefully the delicious tacos that your fiancé family was selling come back again. They totally sold out last time.
Yeah, sold out. Really delicious obispo tacos. Probably not a lot of people know about it. It's local meat, only coming from that town. So that's also what's beautiful about Mexico, is that every little town, every region has their own specialty, and I love that really much. So I think we spoke enough about everything. You're doing amazing work in the Bitcoin community. I'm glad to be your friend as well, Lorena. So you're welcome anytime to do a podcast. Maybe we can do some follow-ups every few months, so we see the progress of Fedi, of everything you're doing here. So thank you. Any last words?
Just to get closer to the communities that are building Bitcoin stuff, because that's the only way that you can actually be very to learn how to use Bitcoin and to learn the real value of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not just like an investment thing that just some people use. Bitcoin can be very helpful for different things. So the only way to actually acknowledge this is to participate more actively in these communities that are all around Mexico, all around Latin America, and all around the world. So get closer to them, follow the activities that they are doing, and participate every time that you can.
Thank you, Lorena. This was the Bitcoin Latam Report. See you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.